Good to go. Good evening, everybody. I'm calling to order the Dalton Planning Board meeting, regularly scheduled meeting this Wednesday, March 19th, 7:06 p.m. start time. I would like to just read something here so everybody is clear on the Zoom world. We are meeting in person and making this meeting available via Zoom for the convenience of the public. Since we are meeting in person, we will not be responsible for any technical difficulties. So if you would like to be sure of participating, please attend in person. That's number one. Number two, roll call. As far as this evening, myself as Andrew Perenick as chair. To my left is Don Davis. To his left is Robert Collins. To his left is co-chair, vice chair Zach McCain, future chair. And then we also have Jared Mungin, planning board member, down the end. Zach, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Zach. So, literally, as I was sitting down, Mr. Schnapp came up to me this evening and gave me an email from someone who was here last month, who lives near the Robert property, stating that both Mr. Schnapp and this person were not comfortable with Don Davis, who stated at the beginning of his meeting last month, before the public hearing, that he shared the same lawyer, Bill Martin, as Ray Robert does, okay? So because of that, bear with me here for a moment, but I believe, based off of the concern of a public conflict, that we're going to need to get a ruling on that from either the Ethics Commission and or opinion from Town Council. So I make a motion right now to continue the Robert public hearing until next month.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining?
Abstain.
Yep, that's fine. Let the record show that. Thank you, everybody that just came in, like I said, last minute, and we want to make sure we get the proper input on that before we move forward. So at this point in time, we're going to move to the regular meeting minutes from last month, which was Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of
have a
Wednesday,
second?
February 19th.
Yeah.
Second.
Second, okay. I do have one just minor adjustment. It'd be on page 5 of 8. And under the bullet point, Planning Board considerations of movable tiny homes. The last sentence currently reads, overall, a public hearing would not be the best outlet for this sort of discussion. My memory, because I think that was my comment summarizing, was overall a public hearing may not be the best outlet for this sort of discussion at this time. So with that said, I don't know if anybody has any further comments on it or wants to continue to approve amended meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve the amended minutes.
Okay. We have a motion on the table right now.
Second.
So, okay, any further discussion? Okay, so just to be clear, Brittany, you're good with those details? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? It looks like everyone, no one's abstaining. Okay, excellent, thank you very much. Moving right along. Old business, movable ADU work group update. I believe, is Amy on board with us this evening?
That I can see, yes. I don't see her in the waiting room, and I don't see her on here.
Is Amy Turnbull in the audience here this evening? Okay, it's now 7:10 p.m. So, Jared, I know you and Amy were working on, some language and some different things, and I know from our last meeting, and when I spoke with Amy and Yanko after the meeting, as promised, had sent Amy an updated email just reminding her what the process is if she wanted this to go to a public hearing, okay, a public meeting, that I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but she wanted to do some more outreach. She wanted to kind of get a feel for the townspeople if there was more interest in having more knowledge on what a movable tiny house or movable ADU. We've obviously have an accessory dwelling unit bylaw already that we moved forward last month. The next step is Amy Turnbull brought it to us months ago now, almost probably a year ago, about a movable accessory dwelling unit. Jared's worked with her on that, and since she's not on here this evening yet, unless she jumps on in the next minute or two, I believe at that point is about education and getting out there and having more people.
Yeah, I think we're trying to, I guess, get some more of the angles answered, more things figured out before everything's more concrete, but we do have the language that we feel comfortable with at this time. So eventually we would try to pursue bringing that to a public hearing and,
Okay.
and whatnot.
And Yonko, just let me know if she jumps on a little later as we continue forward, because right now we're going to continue forward.
But I think that's the only reason she wants to do that, is to get more information out there, that we have concrete in front of us, that we can kind of make a better informed decision.
Okay, so anything else for right now? And
Not from
again,
me.
when Yonko, if she happens to jump on, if she's running a little late, we'll put her back in the agenda if we're still here this evening, okay? Moving right along to new business, Yonko, take it away, please.
One moment. So, new business with, where is the accepted dust mitigation plan and petrographic test results submission to BCC for the,
Can you mute everybody?
please mute, everyone, please.
Some people aren't really clear on how to do it, I think.
So, the item, as you can see, accept dust mitigation plan and petrographic test results submission from BCC for the public record. We're accepting them, so the planning board has received the petrographic aggregate and sand testing results, as well as the dust mitigation plan from Berkshire Concrete. They are available for public consumption. They are being entered into the public record today, available for viewing by the public. There's a copy of each of the things I received up here. They're, due to the timing of these submissions, the board needs a chance to review the documents before they are brought up for discussion. These documents will be made available, like I said, publicly via email. I'm going to try to get them on the website. You can email me for them. You can come look at them in my office. Just reach out to me, and then there are some here for you guys to take home if you'd like copies as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Also, I know,
And
yep, go
yes,
ahead.
and there's one more thing I'd like to acknowledge. I'm acknowledging the receipt of the petition from the residents, citizens petition from the town of Dalton from over 300 and something residents, 384, I believe. And right now we also, we're accepting this into the public record. However, we also have to, the board needs a chance to review the documents, the petition. The clerk needs to look at the signatures. There are some processes we need to go through with the petition before we are also able to discuss it as a board. And given the timing of this submission, the same logic applies, is we need time to review it as a board for that reason as well.
Okay, thank you very much. We are now at the public comment section. I'm guessing there's a lot of people here that would like to speak and have a public comment when you stand up. I don't know if you want them to come to a microphone or if you've got it dialed in, if they just stand up and say their name and their address.
Just stand.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Sorry.
Take your time.
Do I have to stay in a certain spot?
That's good.
Okay. Well, I am Lynn Griffin. I live at 33 Church Street, which is right here. And I'm concerned about the new sand mine right here. I'm 720 feet away. And this is our new poster. This is a photograph that was taken on Sunday, March 9th after a windy weekend. And the following weekend was beautiful. The snow melted. Kids that live in this house and a house over here were out playing in the neighborhood. As we've discovered, the small particulates in the air are in the air for 12 days, so that was 7 days after that windy weather. So I have some questions. Do you approve the application submitted by Berkshire Concrete for the years 2021 to 2022, 2022 to 2023, 2023 to 2024, 2024 to 2025, where the property affected was listed as number 3 on map 217, which is lot 217-3, and number 55.1 on map 106, which is lot 106-55.1. Did you approve
So
those
Lynn,
applications?
could I, where we are on the agenda here this evening, okay, is public comment. So you can ask any questions you want. I prefer you would email them so we can get you
I
written
never get an
responses.
answer, ever, ever. I've emailed, I never get an answer.
Not from
So
this board?
I want you to tell me, are you going to answer these or not?
Not this evening, ma'am.
Okay,
No.
so I'm going to say all the questions, so everyone can hear them.
We're
And
going
I'll
to take
expect-
turns. We're going to take turns and be respectful of everybody's comments, which
Exactly.
I believe a lot of them
Well,
are
that's not a
similar.
comment, I'm
Okay.
asking questions. I'm going to list my questions,
Sure.
I expect an answer, everyone will hear me ask my questions, and we expect answers.
Would you like to submit a copy of that so that we have it
Oh, yes,
crystal
I
clear?
will.
That would be perfect.
Okay.
So
But I'm still gonna read them.
I'll partially answer your question. We did approve Berkshire Concrete's submittal in 2022.
Okay.
I don't know what other years you
Okay,
said.
the next question. On the site map provided with the applications, lots 217-3 and 106-15.1 did not designate any earth removal, but lot 105-16 did. Were you aware of the discrepancy?
Lynn, can I just pause you for a second, because we're going to put these into public record, but you have some notes on here, and I just don't want to take your notes, if you want to just look
I
at them
will.
for a second. You have handwritten pencil on
Oh,
top.
that's mine.
Yeah, I just want to, before we submitted them, I just want to make sure
Yep,
you
no,
got the right documents there. So I have those
Yeah.
two.
that's it.
Okay. And they look like, is they the same thing?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to keep a copy, or can we have
No,
both
I've got
copies?
copies.
Okay, thank you. I'll go and hand those to you.
Okay,
For the record.
the third question, why was the incorrect properties listed on the subsequent applications after 2021, 2022, and never corrected over the next 3 years? That was question 3. Question 4, is part of the building inspector's job inspecting property listed on special permits? Do you give the building inspector the information needed to inspect the sites on special permits? According to the Mass Sand and Gravel Operations Guidelines, Mass DEP, the municipal building inspector should inspect the site of earth removal on a regular basis to ensure compliance with local regulations, and the sand pit should be monitored by the site operator during mining activities to ensure that NPS pollution is kept to a minimum and all local regulations are being followed. Which sites did you instruct the building inspector to inspect? Did he inspect 217-3, 106.55.1, which were the ones listed on the permits, which are over here? This is the lot with the new sand line. Was he instructed to inspect those 2 lots, which had no gravel removal or sand removal? Or was he asked to inspect lot 105-16, which is the new sand line? And I have one more question. Has the building inspector ever inspected lot 105-16 during the past 6 years? So those are my questions.
Okay.
And we expect answers, don't we?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other comments this evening? Yes, sir.
Henry Rose. I live at 89 North Mountain Road, but I'm here to deliver a message from the Conservation Commission.
Go ahead, Henry,
Member of
thank
the
you.
Conservation Commission. We met last night, and the commission voted unanimously to approve the statement that I'm about to read to you, and I believe you already are holding it. The Dalton Conservation Commission strongly advises the Planning Board to withhold permitting Berkshire Concrete's operation until Berkshire Concrete presents a comprehensive mitigation plan with frequent testing of air quality to ensure that nearby residents are not exposed to harmful fine particulates or nuisance dust. The burden of proof that the mining operation will not harm residents rests entirely with Berkshire Concrete. The Planning board must oversee compliance with rigorous monitoring, and failure to comply should result in revocation of their permit. If control of dust is not possible on a consistent basis, then the permit should not go forward at all. Does anybody want a copy of this, or do you already?
We already have a copy, Jim. Thank you very much. Thank you for reading that out loud, too. I appreciate that. Any other comments this evening? Yes, sir.
I'm Brennan Anderson. I live on 54 Ensign Street, and I feel I speak. I'll keep this brief in the interest of allowing more studied people to speak tonight. But I feel I speak in the mind of all conservationally based residents when I say that I'm concerned about how this area has developed recently. I remember it used to be a very an area that was kind of teeming with wildlife. There's plenty of fish in a pond that I like to fish in right next to the plot, and it seems, at least from my experience, walking into that sand pit, it just seems devoid of life, and I'm concerned also for my safety and my fellow residents' safety with the sand and the dust. But I'm also concerned for the environment and what can be done to help conserve the environment. I'm looking forward to hearing steps towards conservation and steps towards mitigation of what has been done. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking.
Well done.
Very nice. Yes, sir. Anybody else have any comments this evening? Yes, in the back.
Hi, Lisa Q, 140 Raymond Drive. I just wanted to speak on behalf of our neighborhood group, even though a lot of us are here tonight and certainly some of you will speak as well, regarding the mitigation plan that has just been submitted. The packet, I think that you all received from Yanko of information that we sent to you, I think that Yanko distributed that to you, shows the historical context of what this town has been dealing with Berkshire Concrete. We have articles in that packet that you received going back to 1976. 1976. And there were issues prior to that, but those were the articles that we gave to you. They have shown a generational disregard for the citizens of Dalton. Why are we still enduring this today? The fact that they're here today to present a mitigation plan is mind-boggling to me, actually. It's proof of their incompetence, proof of their negligence. They signed a document agreeing to prevent dust from leaving their property line. They signed the document every year with the specific condition that dust cannot leave the property line. They've signed that every year since 2013. Why do we now they needed weeks to come up with a mitigation plan. From what I was told, they had to hire an outside consulting firm or some engineering firm to help them come up with a mitigation plan. Why? They should have had that in 2013 before the shovels hit the ground. It's inexcusable. We had conditions set by this town for mitigation for them to not let the dust leave the property line. Why in 2025 are they now trying to think of how can we make that dust not come across the property line? It's nonsensical. We should not be dealing with this still. They have not shown that they want to work for this town. They don't want to be a good corporate citizen. They've had a complete disregard for us as citizens. And it's been an egregious display of bad faith for years. This is not a new problem. It might be new to us or some of us in this room. It's not new to Dalton as a town. So we are here to say we've had enough. The only mitigation plan we need is what is the mitigation that's going to happen right now, because daily, right now, this dust is coming into our neighborhood. So this mitigation plan is wonderful. It's about time. Stop the dust. And please do not start it again. We don't want to be here again. We shouldn't have to be here again. We shouldn't have to worry for our health. This young gentleman who spoke so nicely, he shouldn't be worried going out in his neighborhood. What am I breathing in? What are we doing to the children in our town? What are we doing to all the residents in our town? And I know some people say, oh, you're overreacting, it's just dust, deal with it. These are small particles that we're inhaling. No matter what it is, it's still small particles. This is dust on people's properties. They can't enjoy their deck. They can't enjoy their yard without the sand blowing everywhere. They can't open their windows without the sand coming into their house. It's a mess. You can get the product you need, but not when this is close to a neighborhood. It just has to be found somewhere else. So the mitigation plan that we would like to have is for this to get cleaned up, to be reclaimed, and to be done. And you'll see that also in the petition that was delivered on Monday morning. We had 357 people sign it. We were going to continue going, but we decided that we wanted to get it to you with this, the timeline and the sense of urgency that we have. We clearly could have gotten a lot more. So we're hoping that you will listen to the wishes of the citizens. And thank you for all that you've done so far in moving us forward in this process. And hopefully we can have a positive outcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. And just to chime into that, and Robert, I know we haven't talked about it, but I know that Agnes from the Board of Health did put a letter in, because obviously now, and I understand what's happening, they're not touching the pile. The cease and desist is there, but because of where the condition of the pile, it's now blowing naturally. And that is obviously a nuisance. We have a letter here from Agnes. You've probably already seen it, is my guess.
Yes, there's cease and desist now.
Cease and desist, and to go ahead and immediately take care of this problem that you're absolutely talking about.
Right.
So that's now in her purview as far as that goes, and I was happy to see that letter as well. So I didn't know if you had anything to add to that, but I saw that today in the letters.
So today there was a meeting with an engineering company that's going to function as our third party support. I'm not going to release the name of the company yet, but it is a local company. It's an environmental company that deals with airborne dirty dirt. They're very familiar with this type of stuff, and we should have some formal write-up from him and description. We sat today. I was not in it, but we sat today to come up with what he felt needed to be addressed in the purple monitor systems for collecting the dust particles and all that, what sampling was going to need to be done, and where that sampling has to go. So I'm hoping within the next say week, 10 days, we will have a format of what part of the testing and particles and where it's going to go, as everybody's been, I don't want to, really concerned about those answers. The last I knew, I believe our samples are headed to California.
Right.
It's the only testing facility, I believe it's Cal State, and it's the only facility that has a nuclear some or other machine that can tell us what type of silica sand this is. So, and just so everybody knows, to find out that we had to go to California, because I was in part of that conversation, being a graduate of Syracuse, I was like, let's try UMass. They're like, no. So I call Syracuse. They're like, no, you need to go to PA. PA said, I don't think we can go as minute as you want, but let me get back to you. And it took them a week to get back to us. They sent us to West Virginia. We got a hold of West Virginia, and West Virginia went, no, we've been here before, you need to go to California. So that process, just so everybody understands, we did hear you, we just didn't know where to go get this information. And it took us all this time. It was up to last Wednesday that we just got this information, and I did share that last Wednesday with Lisa. So we are on track for getting you your answers. It just took us this long to get there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. Any other comments this evening on topics that have not already been covered? We're trying to keep duplication down to a minimum this evening. Ron, right up in the front. We'll start back in the front row.
Great. Just a quick one. And I'd like to ask somebody in the room a question.
Would you just state your name and address again?
Ron
please?
Griffin,
Yep.
33 Florence Street.
Thank you, Ron.
Dalton. May I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Is this where you live?
No, I live on Ensign Street, but it's a few streets away.
That's my house, sir. That house right there.
Can
That's my house.
you this is ground zero. This is ground zero. And if you don't believe it, walk that side.
Destroyed.
He has 2 young girls
3 young girls.
3 young girls.
I'm sorry, since you were up here, your name and address, please.
My name's Mitchell Burris, that's 30 Prospect Street.
Yep.
Dalton, Mass.
Thank you, Mitchell.
You can see what he is being subjected to. There's a lot of discussion about how it's not acceptable. This is borderline criminal, in as much as you're talking about health consequences of the children in our community, 3 of which live right here, right on top of this mining operation. And it's been here, and how long ago approximately did you start seeing
I
it?
moved there probably about 3 years ago.
And when did you start seeing the effect?
The biggest I started noticing it was last spring of, what would it be, 2023, 2024, last spring.
It was there about that time that everybody in our immediate neighborhood saw the impact. Been too long without a response from the contractor responsible for the mitigation of the site. Mitigation plans are fine, okay? I understand. I think you got an engineering firm that might be able to come up with some working plans. My question is plain. The next windstorm, he and his daughters, his children, are going to get hit with it again. My wife is going to get hit with it. The rest of the neighbors are going to get hit with it. And it's not acceptable.
The fact that you call it dirty dirt makes me super nervous.
I say the dirty dirt. I say that because as you look at it, what here
On white snow,
on white
it's dirty,
snow,
yes.
it's dirty dirt. You know.
So his children are being subjected to it. We don't have an answer, any of us, as to what the implications might be for their health. But why should they be subjected to this anyways? This town, you people, have to come up with a plan to prevent it. You say mediation, or if that's an answer. I really question that, especially when you take a look at it. How much mediation was done on that site over the period of time that they were mining the operation? Anybody have any answers here?
So Ron, we're going to keep this under control tonight, my friend. We get your point. We've identified the problem. We're working the solution. Any new comments is what we're documenting this evening. You're aware of the process right now for stopping. We want that to be stopped when the wind blows. That currently cease and desist site, which is Agnes Wachowski from the Board of Health. That is her purview to work with Berkshire Concrete to get mats over. I don't know. I was in the half of the class that made the top half possible. So I don't know what the solution is, but you have experts working on that. That's where we are at. So more comments for us this evening. I'm happy to listen, but I also don't want to drag this on. Other people want to speak as well, and you had a lot of time last month.
I certainly appreciate
Sure.
that. There's a classic example of a situation that this town needs to address.
Your house is at the end of that street, kind of where the
Yes, so
600?
basically, this is all my property within 50 feet, 100 feet of the end of their mining operation.
It's the old Dalton auto body, I believe, right?
Yep, the
Yep.
house right behind it.
Yep.
It's right there.
And for real, anybody's welcome to come on my property and see how terrible it is.
Yeah. And has Agnes been out there? Do you know the Board of
Yes,
Health?
actually,
She's
she
walked
just
out?
approached me about it, and she's
Good. Excellent. So you got the right person out there. Thank you. Are you good for now? Because we got a lot of other hands here. I just want to keep working through and give everybody an opportunity.
Keep right on going.
Okay.
The wind's blowing in their faces, like he's saying.
You just say your name and address, please, ma'am.
Melissa has to remember.
Hi, Missy.
But Mitchell was telling me his daughters were playing outside.
Yeah.
They were kicking a soccer ball. They can't play outside. The wind blows the sand and they get sand bullets through their face. So they can't even play outside in the backyard.
Yep.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ma'am.
Excuse me.
You want to say
Sue
anything else?
Person, I live at 30 Florence Street, directly across from Lynn and Ron. The day that photograph, when the snow turned to a beach,
I was on the other side of the hill at the transfer station collecting signatures and watched the snow, the wind, the sand blowing. It's not just the sand pit either. The old sites that are closer to the transfer station, as I stood there freezing my hind off, and the wind was blowing, the sand is blowing all through that entire property, and then it's just picking up more when it gets to the sand. I have also hiked up next to your fence with my dog and hoping I wasn't going to get in trouble for walking on the property. But it is pretty incredible, and to have his children, parents, grandparents, I have little grandchildren. I can't invite them to my house for the weekend. What are we going to do? Oh, it's a beautiful day. Let's play outside? That's crazy. So.
Thank you, Sue. Appreciate it. We had someone else in the back. We will come back in front in a minute. Yeah, go ahead. I can't see who it is, so just name and
Hello,
address.
sir. Mike Cedar, 297 Pleasant Street.
Hi, Mike.
In town. How are you doing?
Good.
Today I took a look at the bylaws specifically for the Board of Health, its regulations. And in those bylaws, there's 6 chapters. 601 is communicable diseases. 603 is sewers. 604 is solid waste. 605 is tobacco products. 606 is well regulations. And 607 is outdoor wood burning furnaces. And I have to say, Andy, to the board, I object to the term nuisance. This is a health emergency for this town. Nuisance is somebody not wanting to stand up and look at the problem and face it head on. And even the town of Dalton, at one point, I think this goes back to 2003, understood the problem of pollution in the air. 607-1 is regulations for outdoor wood burning furnaces. And the statement of purpose under that bylaw is, I quote, conclusive evidence exists that wood burning devices emit particulate matter, carbon monoxide, and other pollutants known to be detrimental to the health of the public. Exposure to these pollutants can cause short-term health harm, such as eye, nose, throat, lung irritation, coughing, as well as shortness of breath. And long-term exposure to these pollutants, which is what we're talking about, pollution, that's all it is, can cause asthma, heart and lung disease, as well as cancer. And I'm sure we can line up as many health professionals as needed to convince the town that this is a health emergency and the town needs to act. This situation has been created by the authorization by this board signing an permit allowing Berkshire Concrete to excavate. You've signed that permit with no oversight for 3 years, not looking at what lot was being mined. There's been no oversight on the lot itself. Obviously, nobody has been out there to see what the hell's going on. Right? As far as the Board of Health bylaws, it's ironic that after 70 years of mining operations in that lot, that there's no bylaw that states what the regulations are for mining, strip mining, in a gravel pit. It's ironic that all these bylaws, the only one that gets close is a wood burning furnace, and I don't think I've seen one in 10 years. But here we got a mining operation with no bylaw covering that type of action. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the back that I missed before? Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Come back.
Good evening, Dave Pugh, 140 Raven Drive.
Hi, Dave.
I want to thank you first for, I would say, your thoroughness since we first saw each other about a month ago. There's been a lot of support across all the boards. I agree with Lynn, sometimes, not necessarily in my case, but in the case of others in my neighborhood are reaching out and not getting correspondence back. we all want a solution. And what I would ask a couple things. One is, when you're hearing people speak, please be patient. There's been some signs of impatience this evening. And I have to say, this wasn't a problem that my wife and I were looking for. Okay, so please be patient when listening to our concerns. And if it is repetitive from one meeting to the next, it's because we want you to hear that. One of the things we put together over the weekend that we emailed, we got copies of this evening, was to my wife spoke to, and my Seer spoke to. It's just the generational disregard of the public, the members, the neighbors in this town. And, you know, I kind of live by a statement, one of my roles as an educator, with students. And that is, I just said it the other day to a student, when you don't have trust, you've got jack squat. You have nothing. And right now, this community, our neighborhood, has no trust. No trust for Berkshire Concrete, for their, I'll use the word again, recklessness, negligence. But also, there's a lack of trust with the previous actions of some of the boards in this town. The lack of action, the lack of bylaws. So what I come back with within my roles is trust can be healed. Trust, I'm not one of those people that once trust is broken. So some people live this way. Trust is broken, you never give it back. Trust can be earned back. So I really, I want you to take the time to read through those articles that we presented to you. This is not just a 2025, 2022 problem. This problem is probably going on almost like a century. And that's, we put that together so you could really see, the relevance of what people were saying 75 years ago. Look at the pictures of the people's faces. They weren't looking for the problems like we were. Those same expressions you see in those pictures, I'm seeing my neighbors today. They're the same. I see sadness, I see anger, I see hopelessness, I see a lack of trust, and we got to fix that. Going forward with the mitigation plan, I'm not quite sure if a mitigation plan was ever presented for past ordinance. That was a question I had. I know you're not answering questions. But with this special permit, it's so close, again, butters, all the history of butters not being notified, but I would ask, why wasn't mitigation plans presented? And then the thoroughness of the town to make sure that those mitigation plans are Look, going forward, yes, I want the mitigation plan to clean up the mess, get us so the sand's not blowing. But I truly believe, given the generational disregard of this company, not to fulfill its promises, read, they're there. Promise after promise after promise, never fulfilled. So, going forward, just speaking ahead for the forward, something for you to think about. When you're reviewing, when we get to that time, we're reviewing for the special permit. I want you to think about how they've never, as far as I know, fulfilled their promises to our community. So why should we give them another chance? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Pete Person, 30 Lawrence Street, Dalton. Piggybacking on what he said, as you look into the mill, or the mine rather, you see sand everywhere. So, as my wife said, standing there you see the sand just, and it's 4,000 feet roughly across there, according to Google Earth. I've been at the top of the hill taking pictures. You can see all the way to the Pittsfield State Forest, over the top of the knob of the hill where the other side would be where Unistress is now. Okay? Over the top of that, you can see all the way to the state forest. So the wind's coming from an awful long ways. Okay? Sweeping down over all that material. and the bulk of it is not covered. Now, I know in other towns, and correct, Paul Nichols, you're here tonight, right? What do you got, 2 acres you can do in Hinsdale?
Whatever the planning board lets you.
Whatever it is. It's like, they've got a whole ton of area that's not covered. Okay? I don't know if some of it's been mitigated or not, but it certainly hasn't all been covered. Okay? And since they opened that area where the wind can just come through there, okay, it's gotten a whole lot worse. There used to be trees there that helped to filter some of that out. And I suspect if we could get an exact date as to when those trees came down, that's when Mr. Burris started noticing the problems much worse.
I got pictures, Dave. I'm pulling the trees down.
Okay, so we can come up with that, okay? But they got way too aggressive taking those trees down because there is a little bit of a buffer there. I went up there again last Friday, I think it was, and hiked right behind his house. And the pictures, you turn around and you take a picture, his house and the neighbor that's on the upper prospect are right on top of that line. Okay, so, and as to testing, I'm certainly not an expert on testing it, but I happen to know 2 people that are, one's an OSHA trainer, okay, and another one is a safety engineer with Massachusetts Electric, now used to work with Gildan, okay? He informed me that there are portable meters that people can wear, okay, that people that work in mines wear, that you can rent from Colony Hardware in Albany, New York. And that those you wear the monitor, or you can even clip the monitor, because when they were building Taconic High School, they told me that they clipped them to a stationary stand that they had there, and another in the wall, to determine what was airborne on that project site. Okay? And you just mail it in when you're done, and the lab analyzes it. Why we don't have those yet, and you know, you can say all you want about, we want to get this stuff done, okay, but his kids, okay, are living right on top of that. How many weeks is acceptable to breathe that? That's what I'm asking. And the other thing I'm going to say, that I've said over and over and over again, if I go on a job site, I'm an electrician, I go on a job site, I drill a concrete beam that's made by Unistress, I have to have recovery system on the end of that concrete drill that's going to vacuum up that dust. And if they have a safety engineer on that job, the first time they might talk to me. The second time they're going to be saying, hey, get this joker off the job. But yet, what they're drilling, okay, the same material they're putting into something that I might drill is coming off of that hill, and nothing's being done. OSHA general duty clauses, okay, I know they're covered by MSHA, but OSHA general duty clauses cover silica, and silica is bad news. It's cancer causing, it's a carcinogen, okay? We're not, as Mike said, we're not talking about a nuisance. We're talking about something that's going to ruin lungs. And I'm living across the street from somebody that had lung cancer, never smoked a day in their life, okay? I'm going to a pulmonologist on Tuesday. I've been coughing for well over a year, okay? So when you guys say I'm not going to answer questions and we get ping pong, well, this isn't the purview. When this is all said and done, we need to figure out a way that all of these boards can get together when there's something like this and not just say, oh, it's them over there, it's them over there. And I know you guys aren't doing this, you're not making a ton of money, but damn it, right, damn it, it needs to be something so that we can stop the finger pointing, stop saying go here, go there, go everywhere, okay? There needs to be something where everybody can get together, because I don't know how many planning board meetings I've been to now, at least 2, okay? All the other meetings, you know, it just, there's too much ping pong. I feel like I'm living inside of a pinball machine, the way we're getting bounced around. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Mike Van Duzen, 128 L Street Extension. So I think as you've heard from other neighbors in the area, And I'm sure as this board would agree with this situation is there has to be a sense of urgency to it, correct? Can we agree on that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So like the Conservation Board has done, where they're affirming to you guys the urgency of it, I would ask that the Planning Board do the same thing for the Board of Health if it hasn't already done so, to put a letter to them to express, that you've been hearing the same things from the neighborhood, and you as a board who anecdotally have seen what's been going on in the location would agree that the urgency of it needs to be addressed. I think that speaks to what's been asked to here, as a town and as a community and as a subsequent board of this town. If everybody is going to the Board of Health and saying, expressing the same message, which is what we should be doing, then I feel like we can have that urgency be, patrolled into that, and again, like others, my son plays over there with his friends or right next door to you guys, so. The kids are involved in these, these are families, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have kids too. So, I think you take it from us and put yourselves in our shoes and how you would feel in that position. So,
I can speak for this board that we all do. We all absolutely do.
exactly. Yeah. So, I've looked at the state laws and as far as as far as dust and mining is concerned, and I just have to ask, like, people who manage these things, like MSHA or anybody, has had any conversation with the town about what's been going on? Has that been done? The people who are supposed to be regulating these things. You may not answer, you may not, but.
I think, again, Agnes is going to be your person at the Board of Health for that, but I'm happy to write another question down and get this all back to you. That's not an issue. It's being prepared. Just like everything that gets handed in earlier this evening and 2 days ago, we all have full-time jobs. We don't make any money here, by the way. I don't know who thought we did, but thank you, but we don't. And we need time in our lives to review this stuff as well. But we know that this is very, very serious and important. And it's, from the first time Ron called me, there was action taking place in regards to this, from last month's planning board meeting to now the status of where it is. And now we'll write a letter. I made a note here to write a letter to Agnes. That's fine. I'm very sure Agnes already knows the severity of this and what her communication is. I can't speak for her with Berkshire Concrete to get those things covered up, watered down, whatever it is.
And I think my point in the last meeting as well was that, having these Board of Health meetings once a month, dealing with a problem that's happening every day,
Sure.
That doesn't seem to me like that kind of cadence is going to be sufficient to really meet the situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
And just lastly,
Sure.
for both the board and Brian, when's the last time you guys have been over there to inspect the site?
I can answer that question if you want.
Let's just hold off for right now because we want to take the information, go through everything here. Yes, sir. No, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm almost got names down now.
That's okay. I just, before we leave tonight, I agree with them on the rounds, sometimes you do have to meet more often because we got a serious problem. I would reiterate that request. But before we leave tonight, a large group here, could you just provide us what you perceive as next steps, timeline rough of what you see happening in the coming weeks, month, as far as the board's reacting to this mitigation plan? How and when would you possibly accept it within the different boards? If you could just provide that before we leave tonight, I think that would give us a lot of security.
And I can provide a little bit right here now because I know there's been some misinformation. And listen, I'm happy to see more people involved here in the community, in the town. I've got one more meeting after 6 or 7 years here. I was on the Board of Health before this, and I'm done. I am not running again. It's not because of this. I said last year I was done. Kids are out of the house, sold the business, going to go enjoy Aruba, okay? So with that said, there's going to be open position here, and I like to see people get involved. Myself and my 2 brothers are Eagle Scouts and the Boy Scouts of America, police, military, everything else. The community's everything, okay? So with that said, what I can speak of this evening is the process that the planning board is in charge of moving forward is, and if Berkshire Concrete submits an application, we're guessing they will because they're submitting information now, okay? I believe they're going to submit an application. When that happens, you're going to get notified as to when. We're having a little bit of a public hearing this evening, and I'm being patient, as you know, to let people speak, but there is a proper process of that as well, where you'll all be able to speak again and go over everything, and that's why we're not jamming this down everyone's throat tonight. You need a chance to look at what they submitted. We need a chance to look at what you submitted, but in the meantime, I can't speak for Agnes, but we'll send a letter over there that she is the point person for communication as far as I understand, and I'll be corrected if I'm wrong tomorrow or whatever, to hurry up, Berkshire Concrete, get this covered, get this done. We need to stop it now. So hopefully that helped fill out what happens here. We oversee the permits and special conditions. They're digging on a piece of land we did not approve. That's the bottom line. Okay, so there's separate stuff there. So hopefully that helps clear it up. And as citizens here as well, having spoken to everybody here, we empathize, we understand, we have children, head children come through here. We get it. There's a process we are following. I believe it's being expedited since we started this last month from everything I've heard. I can't speak to things before I heard about this. But since then, I've seen things, especially with Robert said, sending this stuff out to California. I think the newest thing this evening, correct me if I'm wrong, is when are we going to cover what's been disturbed and stop it? A cease and desist should be a stop of everything right now. That's it. So, thank you.
Just to add that point, the cease and desist is the stop. What I think that, and I'm not a professional in that type of business, but what I think needs to be done, and I think that Brian, maybe if you could have some input on this, there's a cease and desist there, but I think tomorrow, yesterday, last week, somebody should be putting some hay mats over the top of that and hydro seed in that pile down or something. I'm not an engineer, I don't know the terminology, but I believe that every board committee and every person in this room are all in favor to get somebody up there and cover that sand up and put some hydro seed on it, contain it, and at least stop that problem. As far as, and I'm 100%, I'll help pull it out, okay? I'll be up there, whatever. But I can tell you that in October, we did walk that site of last year, and they weren't cutting into that hill. We didn't see that, did we, Jared? The hill that they're talking about, when we walked the site,
So
October 25th?
just, you guys, I want to make sure I get everybody's comments through here. You hear the sense of urgency with us. And I believe, I've not spoken to Agnes directly, but having worked with her, hired her and worked with her as the chairman of the Board of Health, she is very reactive in my experience, and I don't think that would change anything.
Was there last week?
I'm sorry?
You were just there last week, Agnes.
Okay. Agnes was over there. There was another hand back there. I just want to make sure I get everybody. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Chris Rawson, 95 Pleasant Street.
Thank you, Chris.
My concern, when you're talking about Berkshire Concrete, is that you see all this news about how they have this new money to go 10 more years in the paper, and they're going to need a lot of concrete over the next 10 years. I'm worried that they're just going to want to keep digging and mining more and more and more. And if this is their hotspot, what assurance do we have that the permits are really going to be legit? Because we're only who we are, like, you're people who have full-time jobs. And if they got this over on us before, how can we have assurances that they're going to follow the permits that they haven't followed for decades? You know, what can we do to have some assurance? You know, I don't feel like we can have any assurance, but we need to know what we can do as a community, because the only sand kids should be playing in is at the beach and in sandboxes. It should not be in their decks. It should not be blowing in their face, and it should not cause cancer.
I think we all agree.
You know, we don't want to be the next Flint, Michigan.
Yeah, yeah. So we have two issues. We have a here and now, okay, as far as what's taking place and we just discussed, and then we have in the future. Everybody understands the process of in the future. It's not going to happen without you knowing, okay? Yanko's been trying to
Maybe somebody on Zoom would like to speak.
Okay, yeah.
Hi, April Van Dusen, 128 Hale Street Extension.
Hey, April, go ahead.
Hi. I think you've pretty much already answered a lot of my question right now, but I'm concerned about how this is also going to work going forward, because I feel like there maybe was not enough oversight, or Berkshire Concrete might have been doing something that they weren't supposed to be doing, and there was no like no oversight that noticed any of this until the neighbors were in an uproar. And I, you know, just personally, I feel like I got more of a hard time from the building inspector about putting in an 84 square foot shed than Berkshire Concrete is getting for opening up a literal mine 1,000 feet away from my house. So I really think that there should be like more discussion and more oversight moving forward before mines are opened in neighborhoods and on residential properties.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, in case you didn't hear me before, that is the scope of the public hearing and everything, if and when we get to that point, so thank you.
Yeah. I really was hoping that we would have had a public hearing before this happened. So I really would like to see that happen going forward.
Yeah, I get you. Thank you, April. Okay, that's fine. We'll get to Amy after this. We're into this now. Any other comments this evening, folks? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand right behind his wonderful hair that I don't have any.
Richard Hull, 164 Green Ridge
Yes, sir.
Drive. So I just had a quick glance at their plan, and I do have an interesting question. Under their construction phase for segment control and protection of wetlands, number 8, it says precast concrete shall be washed down at the manufacturer's plant, cast in place, and concrete trucks and equipment with fresh concrete will not be washed down within 100 feet of wetlands. Now this was done by looks of it, Foresight Land Services, which I'm sure is involved in the original. And if you look at 7P, as part of the current permit, it says the following is prohibited on the premises. B, washing down of equipment. So they're saying something in the mitigation plan which is totally opposite to what's actually in the permit. So just, it does raise some questions.
Okay.
And then the second thing, rather like you, because I had a chance to look at it, it says existing clearing plus or minus 5 acres. Well, it can't be more than 5 acres because in the current permit, they're not allowed to do more than 5 acres. My other question, and last one, is that before they can do another 5 acres, they have to restore other parts of the land. Now, looking at Google, there's like 9 acres of the current, the old development that is bare sand. And without going into detail, it says there's specific things they have to do before they can mine. So we're not holding them to the permit. And there's questions in the plans that they're not even reading the permit. So just that. And the other thing, there isn't anything in this suggesting that we're going to monitor the wind. It's very easy for $500 to put something on a pole and have it sent so that we know the wind direction and the wind speed. Because today, no wind, no sand going in the air. So that, you know, they may be able to work, I'm just saying. But if it's blowing 20 miles an hour and it's blowing in the direction of the houses, that's a problem. So, just something.
Thank you.
Thank you for my comment.
Yeah, yes, sir.
It's a very good point that you bring up, and I want to say that within the special permits, as we can construct them, we can impose, and as a board, we can come up with this, and we can take it from the public, we can impose specific special conditions in those permits, which can be much more ironclad, and enforceable as well, which can be much more ironclad and can address issues like that you just pointed out that, you know, seem contradictory and things like that. So that's why I think a careful analysis of these plans and the things that continue to come forward is going to be crucial in, if we even get to that point, in crafting a permit conditions for that, if we hypothetically get to that point. But to craft these conditions, I think it's important that people keep their eyes open, and like you say, you see things like that, speak up, say something, and we can all work together to come and together to find a solution to this, and find conditions that can be acceptable, and if there isn't something we come up with, then we'll go from there.
Thank you, Yanko. Yes, sir.
With respect, I think we could save you, the town, and all of us a lot of time and just not permit lot 105-16 in perpetuity. Knock it off. It's your budding residential neighborhood. And the pollution causes cancer. Pollution is the leading cause, greater than smoking. Any medical professional will tell you that. So just, let's put it to bed and end it. It's been going on for 75 years. 75. And for Mr. Russell Sears' comment on a photograph in the Eagle in 2003, the town fumbled the ball. We don't want to see the town fumble the ball again. Matter of fact, we're not going to let the town fumble the ball again. Time to stop.
Game's over. Thank you. Ma'am.
Hi, Sue Person, 30 Florence Street. So do we have a timeline? Like, is there a deadline for their mitigation plan? Is there a deadline for them to do mitigation to the previous gravel bed that's existed there for 70 years or however many years it is? Do we have, we need to have a timeline. I think we would all feel better if we knew that, you know, it's going to take 30 days for this or it's going to take 20 days for that. In all businesses, there are timelines. I always had deadlines. Your work needs to be done by when it's supposed to be done by. Got to have all your documentation in. You've got to have this done, that done, and there are timelines. And we're not ever hearing a timeline for what do we insist on having from Petrographic. And it's not a case of, oh, please do it. It's a case of you have to do it, or you're done anyway.
So again, the reason there's no timelines right now is because this problem came up, brought to at least our attention last month. There was a cease and desist before our meeting, and now they've identified the problem and they're looking towards solutions. That's my words, not anybody else's, a summary of things. So it's stopped until, okay, everybody gets a chance to chime in again to see what that plan is to approve it, okay? That's part one. But part two, again, tonight, the takeaway for me is, and everybody else, is what's happening right now, that needs to stop. Okay, everything else is cease and desisted.
I like your point.
So the time,
You know,
exactly.
do something.
They
Cover the dirt.
need to do it yesterday, and I'm pretty sure that our health commissioner, our building inspector, our town, everybody wants something to happen on that yesterday to cover it up and just stop the dust from out.
So just to address the timeline thing, though, in all reasonableness, you understand the reason why is because we put a total shutdown on it. So now we need to work this out, like you said, formulate the plan, bylaw, whatever else it might be. We don't have a timeline on that. You don't want us to rush it, do you?
No, I do not.
I
What I
know.
want is the dirt covered in the meantime.
That's the part that I circle back to. That's the part I circle back to because I want everybody to understand. We hear that. Again, we hear it, and we're going to write a letter to Agnes and, go from there. Yes, sir.
And we want it done.
Yeah.
And correct me if is anybody on this board also on the Board of Health?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Is anybody here on the Board of Health as well?
No.
Would it be possible for a representative from the planning board to assist the Board of Health? Because it seems like these two things are kind of interlocked, and permitting and what's going on with Petrographic, and the Board of Health may not know necessarily everything, the ins and outs of the permits and what's going on with site management and what's to be done. I don't know if that would make sense.
I'll make a note of it. I can look into it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Robert Collins has been assistant, and he's a select board and planning board, and I'm willing to help out whenever we can.
I was just gonna say, Yanko and I have been pretty much in the health department's office. He lives there, she lives in his office. I'm there very often. I've been fortunate enough, I haven't been doing a lot of work, so I've had a lot of time. I want to answer a couple more questions just real quick. Last Monday, Yanko, the health department, and myself were there. I know that our building inspector has been there numerous times in the last couple of weeks. Just drove in to inspect. People are going there. Our Conservation Commission, I believe, has been there twice in the last 3 weeks. So people are going there, and this has been a very trying for you guys, but it's been a very trying and stressful situation on our behalf, all the department heads, because there's no play written in for what just happened. Unfortunately, it's not there, and we're sort of writing. I mean, he's writing, and Agnes is writing, and the select board and the conservation commission is writing the playbook 250 points behind, and we're trying. And the other side of this is a lot of these chess moves that we're doing on our side have to go to legal. You guys, I do believe, understand that, and we're trying to make sure that when we say we want to do this, that we can do this, that we really can do this. And so that always takes an extra day or two for the attorney to get back to Yanko, to our health inspector, and our health inspector, I'm gonna give her credit. I think she's on a first name basis with the attorney, Yanko? Yeah, I think they come, I'm not so sure that they won't be going out on a dinner date before this is over. It's been that much communication. So I just want everybody to know, we are trying as fast as we can, but we're writing a playbook that we're way behind on.
Okay, we're going to get to a few more comments. We're going to start right back with you.
Just on that point, the town of Adams, Lanesboro, specialty materials up in Adams, and Unistress is in Lanesboro. So if anybody has a resources to manage these things, they have it.
Good point.
Excellent, thank you. Yes, sir, we'll go age before beauty.
I can't help but scratch my head. If this has been a problem for as long as it's been, why are we sitting here again asking the same question? Challenging the town to get something done. I just don't understand it. Why do we have to do this every single time there's a problem? I mean, you guys, I wouldn't want your jobs for the world.
I'm writing your name in the election.
I'll move before the
Good luck,
I genuinely don't understand. This is decades, this thing with that issue. For decades. And here we are today. I'll guarantee you that they had the same conversations 24 years ago. Same conversations.
Okay.
We gotta just.
You're hearing it. Ron, I understand. We're going to make sure we get to everybody here. Continue to go through. Yes, sir.
I understand what your needs are. And these people need to talk.
So
What we want you to do is listen.
I want to say a couple things. I've been on the planning board longer than anybody else here. And we had some good experienced people on the planning board when I joined it, but they all retired.
And you know why? Because
And
of this.
Yeah, it's partly because of this. And I went through a bunch of old minutes from when we approved permits in the past. And from 20, I couldn't find them all, I just found some. But it's never been a problem as big as it is today. There's always been a problem along High Street. And for the last 5 or 6 Berkshire Concord renewals, hardly anybody showed up at the public hearings. And the reason was there weren't a lot of problems and they were trying to minimize it. But when this started, when they opened up, and then I think 4 or 5 years ago, they told us they were just processing there. They weren't opening any new mining areas. And so when we approved these plans, there was nothing mentioned about open new mining areas in the last few years.
So they want.
I don't know if they lied or we just missed it.
Well, the other
I'm
thing
just
is-
saying, I was told, I remember, most of these guys weren't on the board at the time. They were only doing processing, they weren't mining. And they had revegetated a bunch of area on the back, and now there's a solar field back there. And yeah, I was under the impression they were never doing anything on the other side of the pond. They were done with that. And then the first time I saw that was when you brought that in last month. And so this is a result of them opening a new mining area 1 to 2 years ago and cutting down all those trees is why your area is getting inundated with dust. No doubt about it.
And
So-
thank you very much for making that statement, because I think that's important for everybody here to listen, to hear. And the big question that comes as a result of that is, town didn't do its job in looking at what, in fact, they were doing on that site. You guys, I don't expect you guys to walk to that site every week to do a review, to determine whether or not the contract is mitigating the site the way.
I appreciate the work that the Pews put in on what they sent, because I had no idea of all that history. I think I've been on the planning board for 11 years, and I'm disappointed in myself for not realizing what was going on the last couple of years. Because that's when this started, when they took all the trees down.
Yes,
I'm surprised they could do that without a permit,
exactly.
take those trees down. So
But that to me is one word, oversight.
right.
And the town had the responsibility for oversight, and it failed, totally failed. And the results of that are that. Should never have happened.
I can tell you that's why I never said anything a year ago. I thought you guys were watching out for us. There was nothing I had to worry about until I found out about all this.
But the
Or
site,
I would have brought
the
this
site
up
that-
a year ago, the minute they yanked them, started yanking
the
them.
site that they cleared, they didn't have a permit on. We didn't issue them a permit for that site, so let's just understand that. And we walked the site this year. It was just a continuation of the permit that we didn't think they were stripping anything. We had some recommendations, they did it. The year before, I think, Brian, you and I drove the site to make sure. Paul Nichols' site, I think we drove Paul Nichols' site for his permit. I've never been on Ray Roberts' site, but every site that gets inspected, somebody from this board besides myself, we're at Ray's site looking at stuff, so.
Just
and hold on, no, let me finish. It does happen. We did do that. The site
That
that.
doesn't happen. That shouldn't happen.
Okay.
If that's true and they lied, how can you ever trust them again? Why would you even consider the next permit application?
Well, maybe we won't know until it happens though, right?
That's
So
a
you
good
can't
point.
assume that. We're taking all your information in here right now, you see notes taking, it's being recorded, you're being heard. Ron, did you hear me?
Every single word is right here.
You're being heard.
I'll never forget what you folks are saying.
Okay.
He's the first guy on any board that I've sat and listened to that finally said exactly what needed to be said. All right?
That's why we call him the wise old owl.
And he is. The only thing I hope is that you guys listen to people like that. And do what you need to do.
We got more hands here, so go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so Pete Person, 34th Street. Consideration for one thing, okay, other than the health, is deception. This was a deceptive permit right from the beginning. I'm not saying intentionally deceptive, although I have my own opinions regarding that. Okay, it was deceptive. The lot number was left off of that permit. Okay, so you didn't know where it was. We knew something was going on, and I forgot your name.
Zach.
Zach. So when you said we didn't know what was going on, we didn't have any objections. Of course you didn't have any objections because they didn't list the lot. The abutters weren't notified. That was deceptive as hell. That was, I mean, I can't fill out a building permit and say, okay, I'm building a house on Main Street. Try and figure out where I am. You know, I mean, that's kind of what they did. Is it not true? And it's hidden behind that. It's hidden behind that. You can see the solar panels there. There's a nice berm that sits there between the lake, between the pond, and that. You probably couldn't even see it driving around the regular lot, and they sure as hell weren't gonna take you to it, in my opinion.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Jim Otis at 10 Renee Drive.
Jim.
Until there's a financial penalty, I don't think anything's going to stop these people. Because they're making money handling this. They disregard the concerns of the neighbors, they disregard the regulations, they disregard the conditions for their permit. All they care about is money. So I don't know if the Board of Health can fine them if there's a certain period of time that goes by before they finally start getting this stuff abated. But there needs to be some kind of financial penalty or they're not going to do anything.
Thank you, Jim. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
No, just gonna end, at least for me tonight, just saying that, you know, I appreciate, again, Dave, you on 40 River Drive, but times today are different for any one of us to find a historical record. That's different today compared to 20 years ago. The other thing that's different today too is sharing thoughts, right? As we are as a community, it's so much easier than it was 75 years ago. I can't imagine outside and walking around the neighborhoods constantly. But we're in a different place today as far as people being able to communicate with each other. We're all on the same page, so let's make the right decisions going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that was the last hand I had there. Just want to make sure before we move on to our next part of the agenda this evening that we've heard from everybody that'd like to speak. Seeing that case, we're going to move right along. What I'm going to do, I know you said Amy's now here. Let's go with correspondence so we can get, I know we don't have a ton of things. You're going to summarize those for us. And then we'll go to movable ADUs. Amy, I moved you further down the agenda here. I'm glad you joined. Correspondence that Amy Central's here. Bianca, whenever you're ready, buddy.
You should have been here today today.
Hey!
we still got a meeting here. If you could just take it outside so the people on Zoom can hear us. Thank you. You're always.
Who was it?
We're still in a meeting, so.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. We just had a little glitch. We're trying to get so we can hear. So, okay.
So, alright, Town of Cheshire Planning Board notice of decision. Petitioners Action Sign Company, 3276 River Road, Rensselaer, New York. Property owner, Cobble Heights Realty Trust. Property location, 391 South State Road, Cheshire, Massachusetts. So public hearing was conducted to hear the petition for their special permit, and after reviewing documentation and due deliberation, the planning board granted them a special permit for the removal and installation of new site signage.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Town of Cheshire Planning Board. This is the record of proceedings, January 22nd, 2025. Notifying that there was at 191 Church Street in Town of Cheshire, there was a public hearing on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. And this was for a special permit for an application by Bedard Brothers Mall Cars located at 395 South State Road. And it was submitted by Action Sign Co. for the removal and installation of new site signage. City of Pittsfield, notice of decision from the Zoning Board of Appeals, petition of Lee Sakya at 593 Lakeway Drive. It's referring to the above petition to the decision of building inspector not to act with regard to written request for premises owned by Eric Zahn situated at 493 Lakeway Drive. After a public hearing given on Wednesday, January 15th, the Board of Appeal voted that the petition be and it hereby is approved.
Thank you. Yep.
Zoning Board of Appeals abutter notification. Application has been made by Point Signs, Duncan, requesting an exception from the requirements of Article 25, Section 4.4 of the sign ordinance to allow refacing of an existing pole sign just 8 feet 4 inches away from the property line. Premise is located at 425 East Street and is in a DCD zoning district. The public hearing for this will be at 7 p.m. Wednesday, February 9th. From January 31st. Application has been made by Robert Lincourt, requesting a special permit under Article 23, Section 8.4 of the zoning ordinance to reestablish retail use in a mixed-use residential commercial building. Premises affected are located at 19 Dawes Avenue and in an R-M zoning district. Hearing for this petition will be Pittsfield City Hall, 7 p.m. Wednesday, 7 p.m. Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. Notice of decision on January 21st, 2025. This is regarding Kids Zone Child Care Educational Centers, 699 Dalton Avenue, Pittsfield. The notice of decision has been made for the construction of a proposed billboard under Article 23, Section 7.852 of the City of Pittsfield zoning ordinance. Copy of this decision and pertinent documents was filed with the City Clerk on January 21st.
Thank you.
And the permit was granted. Town of Cheshire, Zoning Board of Appeals, record of proceedings for February 10, 2025. A motion was made by the board to accept the administrative appeals submitted by Theodore Jaco, the owner of the property located off Harbor Road, to the Town of Cheshire Zoning Enforcement Officer stop work order issued on November 14, 2024, thereby lifting the stop work order regarding condition violation on a special permit issued on May 1st, 1995. Special condition changes listed in notices of decision dated August 3rd, 1999, May 12, 2003 for the removal Appeals for the Town of Cheshire, notice of decision for Theodore Jaco, represented by Stephen Pagnotta, Esquire. And this property location is Harbor Road, Cheshire, Massachusetts. Hearing date is February 10th, 2025. Theodore Jaco applied for the administrative appeal to a stop work order issued by the building inspector and zoning enforcement officer on November 14, 2024.
Something.
Sorry, I sometimes get these out of order. They're a little confusing.
I think you did a great job
Thank
going
you.
over them.
So notice of a vote for City of Pittsfield. Petition of Robert Linkford at 19 Dawes Avenue, Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Referring to the above petition requesting a special permit under Article 23, Section 8.4 of the zoning ordinance to reestablish a retail use in a mixed use and residential commercial building. Public hearing that was held on Wednesday, February 19th is hereby continued, and the public hearing will be on Wednesday, March 19th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in Pittsfield City Hall.
Thank you.
Notice of decision to abutters from the City of Pittsfield. Petition of EMS Automotive, February 18th, 2025. Premises affected is 51 Center Street, Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Referring to the above petition, requesting a special permit pursuant to Article 23, Section 8, nonconformities to the expansion of an existing nonconforming use in the DCD zoning district. Public hearing is on Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. Community Development Board voted to deny the special permit for EMS Automotive for the proposed expansion of a non-conforming use under Article 23-8, Section 8.3. City of Pittsfield Zoning Board of Appeals abutter notification. Application has been made by Jeffrey Bradway requesting a special permit under Article 23, Section 8.3 zoning ordinance to extend a non-conforming porch. The premises affected are located at 85 Ridge Avenue and is in a R12 zoning district. A hearing on this petition will be given at Pittsfield City Hall at 7 p.m. Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. Zoning Board of Appeals abutter notification, February 28, 2025. Application has been made by Sportsman's Cafe requesting the variance under Article 23, Sections 4.203 and 9.101D, Section D, of the zoning ordinance to allow an installation of a walk-in cooler within the front and side yard setback. Premises affected are 415 Pex Road, and it is in a R6 zoning district. Hearing for this petition will be Wednesday, March 19th, 2025 at 7 p.m. I believe that is all the correspondence I have for you this month.
Well, that is excellent. Thank you very much. That was a lot. You went through it, did a great job.
Yep.
Thank you, Yanko. Any items anticipated, not anticipated 48 hours prior to? I think I know the answer to that. It should be no.
No, sir.
Beautiful. Now we're going to move where we had Movable ADU working group update from old business now into this. Amy, are you still with us? And can you unmute, please?
I did.
Oh, there you are. Hey, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, good. Sorry to make you wait, but we kind of had you on the agenda earlier on, and we rolled into other stuff, so I don't know how long you were there, but we're with you now. And Jared spoke just briefly earlier when we couldn't, when you weren't on the Zoom, so would love to hear your thoughts. I know the last time we spoke last month, and then Yanko sent you the email with steps. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think having some informational meetings to get townspeople knowledgeable on this might be your next step.
Yeah, I talked briefly with Yanko via email about that. It's a strategy called charrettes. It's typical for people who are planning projects that might meet with opposition, and it gives the opportunity for stakeholders to voice their concerns, their opposition, etc. And I don't know what context we would do that in, because we have had some difficulty in the past reaching out to some of the services and to the building inspector. So I'm looking to you to sort of shed some light on how we might progress with that.
Okay, like anything, and as you probably heard here tonight, it starts with the citizens. If the citizens want something, then it's going to get done. So I don't know. I know you had mentioned before about having the work group, what you just mentioned, I'm not gonna pronounce it correctly, so I apologize, I'm not gonna go for it. But as far as getting citizens involved in this, and as Yanko said, for whatever gatherings we might have, we would obviously invite town personnel, but obviously we can't guarantee they will be there for that. But I think focusing on the citizens to get them, I've talked to a few different people throughout towns to say, hey, do you know anything about it? And they had no clue, and I know we're not there yet. But historically, in my time here, getting people to understand what's going on and kind of back everything would be the next step, in my opinion.
So I know one of the biggest concerns Don Davis mentioned is he's skeptical that these are nothing more than trailers. So what I would offer as one of the charrettes would be that we bring on via Zoom NOAA RDI, which is the certification agency that would be responsible for making these safe and weatherproof, etc., because they would be the ones whose sticker would be on them if they were approved. Okay. So they have indicated to me that they're willing to meet with you guys, but I'm concerned because in the past I have brought a speaker on board who was basically shouted out, and I'm a little concerned about that. So I would have to have some assurances. So do we do this in a planning board meeting? Do we do it privately? Do we do it at the senior center? Do we advertise it? So I might discuss those logistics with Yanko. I don't know. How would you want to handle it?
I'm open for input. Jared, Yanko, whatever else. This is our time to chat, come up with a plan. Yanko, go ahead.
Let us give us the information and let us contact the speaker.
Yeah.
We'll set it up with them directly.
Yeah, we can do that.
And then that leaves Amy from being embarrassed or, feeling that she got slighted. And then that way, if anything, as Amy uses the word slighted, that it would be on us because we were the inviters to come educate us, and then therefore we would take the responsibility of. And I don't know if there's any other agencies, if there's only one agency that would be approving these, but if there's a second agency that's involved, maybe we're gonna have to educate ourselves on this topic as much as we can, so when we make the final decision, we are educated and knowledgeable as far as we can be. I just feel that maybe we should be the ones that reach out and contact these people to see if they can come give a presentation or give us a Zoom presentation, and then run it from there.
Provide us with the information, and we can reach out. Yep.
Amy, and I don't know, but Robert Collins here, who was just speaking, is also currently on the select board. He just wanted a special town meeting. So I don't know if you knew his background or whatnot, but that's who was just talking there, and obviously he's the newest of all of us here as well. So I like that suggestion. Yep.
It's just my thoughts here. We're dealing with Berkshire Concrete and a lot of other things going on in town right now.
Yep. And
I'm just wondering, and Amy, you can chime in here, just the timeline that you're thinking of here, because we have to get the ADU on the one that we passed and approved on the annual town meeting warrant. Some things still have to get, we need to tie that up, wrap that up, and so that can be completely out of sight, out of mind for me, and I can divert more attention. Right now, my attention is just being spread in 1,000 different ways, so the more I can work with, the more time I have to work with you, the better, and the more opportunity, do you understand what I'm saying, Amy?
Oh, absolutely. No, I understand. So we missed the opportunity to make it to this year because of the importance of getting the ADU changes in. And certainly there's no rush. I'd like, so we have a whole another year essentially. So the expediency is a moot point.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure that's okay with you. I just didn't want you to think that I'm just, not trying to push it off or bump it off. It's just right now at this specific point, I'm just spreading so many different ways that doing something like this right now would be.
And Amy, just keep in mind, whether you know this or not, and Zach, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we did push it forward with the other ADU and it got shot down by the town, I believe it's 2 years before it can be brought back again. So that's why
I didn't know that.
Measure twice, cut once. That was part of at least my rationale for making sure we got the info out there that was, received and supported, so it wouldn't be shut down for 2 years if we rushed it.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I had no idea that was a thing.
Okay.
I'm still learning the process. Every town is different.
We all are,
And
yes.
there's layers and layers of bureaucracy.
I'd be happy to get information and talk with someone. I have one meeting left in my tenure here, just in case you didn't know that. I have next month's meeting, and then I'll have fulfilled my term. I'm not running for re-election, and someone else will be in my spot after that. So I don't know that I'm the best candidate, but I do have interest in it, and I'm still a townsperson after I am no longer on the planning board. So I am still interested to get a hold of someone if you wanted to forward that info to Yanko, and he can send it to all of us.
Okay, yeah, I think the first place to start would be NOAA, because they could tell us the process of how they certify these units for safety. They know all about the specifics, the insulation, what kind of framing, if it's a 2x4 or a 2x6. They're into the nuts and bolts of it. So that would be a starting place. And I don't know, I know that some of the other departments in the town have considerations. I stopped in briefly to the water and fire department. I don't know if they're the same. And they have questions about how they're going to be hooked up, that kind of thing. So if NOAA can't answer those questions, or if there are questions from those agencies, maybe if they can't attend, they could certainly articulate those in an email, perhaps, so that we could take some guidance to see what kind of information it is that's confusing people about what these things are.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
whether they're safe.
Yep. Okay.
Great.
Anything else for this evening, Amy or Jared, or anything on this subject?
I just think, over the, course of time for the next year, we can work on just the list of people we can communicate with and make these connections a little more concise and get information so we can then make a much more well-informed decision. So when we do bring things to the table, we have no hesitations, we have no questions on our language and the physicality of people attempting to do this after it's been written, so that things can go smoothly. All the departments know what's going to happen when permits get pulled, stuff like that. So once we get all our ducks in a row, it's going to take a while, but we know that, and yeah, let's just see where it goes.
Okay. Good. Excellent. Amy,
Okay,
anything?
so just to clarify, the next step would be that I would perhaps send Yanko Noah's information?
Yes. If you,
My contact person there?
Yeah, let's start there.
If you send it to him, he'll disseminate it to us, and we will. I know I can speak for myself. I will reach out to him.
And also, Amy, that fire the fire certification there, right? Wasn't there another?
I think they do both of them.
Okay.
So, yeah, they're like an inspection service, and they do the fire and safety standards, or they do ANSI. We can require both or just one.
Yeah, I think in our language that we wrote, I think it mentions those, right? From my recollection.
Yeah. So it's I forget. There's so many acronyms to remember.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, definitely.
NFPA.
It's not
Yes.
ANSI, it's something else, and it's
NFPA.
just escaping.
NFPA.
The National Fire Protection Association.
Thank you. Senior moment here.
Oh, it's okay. I have your bylaw thing right here, so I'm cheating.
All right, excellent. Amy, thank you very much. Thank you for
All
waiting.
right, great. Okay, thank you.
All right, have a great night. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn this planning board meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Give a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next planning board meeting, for your records, is the third Wednesday, 3/19 of